In the future, zombies began to evolute after the end of the world. Hello all. This is Jacobson and this is a brief retelling of the 7th and 8th episodes of the 9th season of the zombie series The Walking Dead. You can see the previous episodes at the links in the video description. As soon as this video gets 300 likes, I will release the next part. Also leave your comments, it will help promote the video. Have fun watching it.
In the forest, Rosita runs alone and is scared, fleeing from walkers, while she hears whispers. Leaning against a tree, she gets tired and eventually falls. Elsewhere, Daryl accompanies Carol and Henry to their camp by the dam. As he feeds his dog, Carol asks him when he last ate. "The dog ate yesterday," he answers and leaves. On the way to the Hilton, Ceedee tells Michonne that she should have let Magna's group stay in Alexandria, but Magna replies that she still doesn't trust them and is only doing it for her daughter's sake. In the cart, Magna complains to her group that Michonne has her knives, and she wants them back. Yumika tells Michonne that she is just upset about their lost friend Bernie. In the prosperous hilltop, residents are engaged in sewing, and Enid conducts an examination in the infirmary. Meanwhile, at the Barretton house, Tara asks Jesus about the news about Maggie. He replies that she is with Herschel and Georgia, and that she has sent another letter in which she admits that she is happy. Tara informs him about some minor problems in their community and congratulates him on his re-election as leader. He reminds her that he ran unopposed, but Tara offers him to take Maggie's office, and he refuses. Back at Daryl's camp, Carol asks why he's been living in the woods for so long, and he replies that it's quiet there. She informs him of Henry's move to Hilltop while she deals with matters in the kingdom. Daryl asks why she's here, and she replies that she wants him to go with them. "Do you want me to sit with your boy?" Daryl growls. Carol admits that Heinrich could use a mentor to toughen him up, but Daryl says he will have to learn by himself. Elsewhere, Michonne and the others are staying at Magna's container with supplies that were destroyed by walkers. Magna gets upset at the sight of Bernie's things, and Michonne instructs the DJ to collect more weapons. This is angry, and Michonne also announces that she is returning to Alexandria in the morning, and Sadiq and DJ help them finish the journey. Magna and Luke begin to rage, but Yumika calms them down and they reluctantly agree to her terms. They decide to find shelter for the night. On the way, Aaron runs into Jesus on horseback, and the two playfully fight in the field until they get tired. Jesus asks if Michonne has changed her mind about joining the upcoming fair, but Aaron says she won't even put the question to a second vote. Suddenly, a signal rocket is launched into the air nearby, and they rush there to sort it out. At the tree they find a wounded Rosita, who tells them that she left Eugene in the barn. Before several walkers get close to her, they grab her and promise to look for Eugene tomorrow. At his camp, Daryl removes the skin from the snake and throws it on the fire for dinner, and Henry asks Carol if she brought him here so that Daryl would be his escort. In the evening, Carol gives Daryl a haircut, and he tells her that he never found Rick's body and got used to the forest. Carol advises him to forget about it. Later, when they are having dinner, Henry asks Daryl where he got the scar on his eye, but he ignores him and goes to look for the dog. At night, when they are hiding in the factory, Michonne hears a noise and discovers Luke standing facing away and holding something in his hands. She thinks it's a weapon and tells him to drop it and turn around, but he says he can't. When he turns around, Michonne strikes down with the sword, and Luke finds himself with a dismembered violin in his hands, waking up the rest of the group. Meanwhile, Henry pursues Daryl and finds a walker instead. Daryl shows up and asks if he was following him. Suddenly Daryl hears a wild dog barking nearby and rushes to him to find him trapped and surrounded by walkers. Daryl fights off the walkers to save the dog, and before the walker can bite him, Henry jumps up and saves him. "I told you not to approach," swears Daryl. Carol stealthily lets down a bow and arrow from the bushes. At the hilltop, Tara informs Jesus about Rosita's condition and asks what they were doing there. Jesus admits that he trained Aaron, trying to persuade Alexandria to take part in the fair. She scolds him and says that people notice his constant absence from the hilltop. She says she's leaving tomorrow to look for Eugene and that he should stay. At the camp, Henry notices an X-shaped scar on Daryl's back, the same as Michonne's when he changes his shirt. He sits down next to him and tells him that this is the first time the dog has fallen into his trap. Henry thanks him for saving him and says that Carol misses and worries about him. "She knows how to find me," Daryl says. Henry suggests that he go with them to Hilltop. Daryl asks if it's so he can keep an eye on him, but Henry says it's not just me. Back at the factory, Luke looks at the broken Stradivarius with disbelief and explains to Michonne that the violin was old and rare. Yumika puts her head on Magnesium's leg and playfully recalls the mansion where they found her. Luke says that music is the only thing that distinguishes them from animals, and how it united people in the past, leaving Michonne in a reverie. In the morning, Siddiq tries to convince Michonne to go with them again, but she says she can't take any chances because of Maggie. Siddiq tells her that Maggie and Herschel left last fall, shocking her. Before he can explain, a DJ arrives and informs him that there are walkers outside. The group gets out of the car and discovers that several walkers are blocking the way to their horses. Michonne kills several walkers, and Magna demands that they return their weapons. Michonne finally gives up and orders the DJ to return their guns. When Magna's group splits up and destroys several walkers, Bernie's undead appears, which deeply upsets them. Heartbroken Magna can't put him down, and Michonne does it for her. The group opens a clean path and leaves. Back at camp, Daryl loads up his motorcycle for a trip to Hilltop, and Carol seems very happy that she convinced him to come. On the way, Michonne sympathizes with Yumika and Magnesium, saying that she understands their pain from the loss of a friend who is considered family. Siddiq apologizes for not telling her about Maggie earlier, explaining that she and Herschel left with Georgie to help build a new community far away from here. Suddenly, two soldiers from Hilltop drive up to them and inform them that Rosita is wounded and is being cared for in the Hilltop. Michonne tells them to tell Alexandria that they are heading to the Hilltop. Coney notices something nearby that confuses the group, but tells them it's okay. When they leave, someone is watching them from the bushes. Daryl, Carol and Henry appear in the Hilltop and hug Tara. Carol tells Jesus that Henry wants to learn how to be a blacksmith. Iron greets Daryl and tells him that they will need his help in finding Eugene. Henry tries to go with them, but Carol says he has to stay and she will help him find a home. A group of rescuers gathers when Jesus tells Tara that he will go instead of her and promise to stay next time, to which Ona agrees. With the dog at the head, Daryl, Aaron and Jesus go in search of Eugene. In the woods, Daryl, Aaron and Jesus watch the herd swarming in the middle of the field. They talk about how unusual it is that walkers do this. When they leave the herd, a strange-looking walker watches them. In Alexandria, Gabriel helps Negan meditate in his cell. Negan praises him for Rosita and boasts that he has heard interesting things about her from gossip near his cell. Gabe ignores him and leaves. Outside, Barbara informs him that Rosita is injured and is in the Hilltop. At the Hilltop, everyone runs inside when Michonne and Siddiq are staying with Magna and her group. From the guard post, Diana forces everyone to hand over their weapons before going inside. Inside, Tara coldly greets Michonne and informs her about the situation with Eugene, Aaron, Daryl and Rosita. She then informs Magna's group that they will have to wait for Jesus' return before they make a decision about their future, but they can stay until his return. Connie thanks her for everyone. From the house, Michonne smiles at Carol, but she is ignored. Later, Magna asks Yumika why the Hilltop is headed by a guy named Jesus, saying it looks like a cult, but the horse assures her that it's probably just a nickname. Yumika suggests that they work on proving their worth so that they can stay. Michonne then introduces the new group to Carol, who happily introduced herself in sign language, which Coney appreciated. Carol asks Michonne about Judith and RJ, and then tells her about Henry's move to Hilltop. Carol asks if she can send a delegate from Alexandria to the fair, but Michonne refuses. Carol begs, but Michonne does not give up and wishes her, Henry and Ezekiel all the best. In the woods, Jesus tells Aaron that Daryl used to trade with Hilltop, and then stopped visiting him. Aaron urges him to accept his new leadership role when Daryl interrupts them and says he hears walkers nearby through the wind. As they leave, Jesus looks suspiciously at the approaching flock. Back at Hilltop, Henry says goodbye to Carol, promising her to be proud of him. Diana asks Carol if she can go to the kingdom with her, and she agrees. At the blacksmith shop, Earl and Nit check on Henry and joke with him. Earl invites him to dinner, although he initially refuses, but agrees after seeing both Nit and Alden kissing. In Alexandria, Negan mocks Gabriel, forcing him to clean the pot to the point that he loses his temper. Gabe admits that he is upset that he has to take care of him while Rosita recovers in the Hilltop. Negan expresses sincere sympathy, but an angry Gabriel remains silent and leaves. Back at Hilltop, everyone eats in the dining room, except lonely Henry. A group of teenagers notices him and invites him to walk with them in the woods. In the infirmary, Siddiq apologizes to Michonne for keeping secrets from her. Suddenly Rosita wakes up in a panic and tells them that she knows where Eugene is. They tell her that Daryl and the others are already looking for him, but after her screams that the others do not know what they are dealing with, they become confused. At night, Daryl, Jesus and Aaron find Eugene hiding in the basement of the barn. A frightened Eugene warns them that a herd of walkers is looking for him and they need to leave immediately. It was an unusual herd, they were whispering to each other, he tells them. They look at him in confusion, when suddenly the dog light, warning them about the approaching herd. Elsewhere, Henry is drinking with his new friends in a barn outside the Hilton. Gage invites them to have fun and leads them to a covered pit in the ground with a walker inside. Eddie leaves when they throw rope rings at him and Rodney urinates on him. Henry jumps into the pit and kills the walker out of mercy. Gage gets mad at Henry for not doing his job and leaves him there. Returning to the misty forest, Eugene suggests to the group that the walkers are evolving. Daryl says it's nonsense when Aaron notices them coming. Jesus demands that they separate, but Daryl says that instead he will lead the herd away while he and Aaron take Eugene to the horses. In Alexandria, Negan is playing with a tennis sword until he notices that the door is moving slightly because of the wind, which confuses him. He touches the door and discovers that it has been left open. He thinks for a moment, but smiles and walks away. At the Hilltop, Tara takes Earl to jail, where Henry sits in a cell as punishment for bad behavior. Erla threatens to send Henry back to the kingdom. Henry explains that his society is counting on him and begs to give him another chance. Sympathizing with him because of his own past mistakes, Erla promises to talk to Jesus when he returns, stating that the minimum punishment for a drunk and violent is 2 days in a cell. However, Earl tells Henry that he will have a lot of work to do when he gets out, which suggests that Earl intends to keep him as his apprentice. Back in the woods, Daryl sets off fireworks to redirect the herd, but a group of walkers ignores the noise and the others follow suit, leaving him in shock. Meanwhile, Aaron, Jesus and Eugene find themselves in a foggy cemetery. They quickly find themselves trapped behind a locked gate, forcing Jesus and Aaron to go kill walkers while they hear whispers around. Michonne, Magna and Yumika suddenly appear to help them unlock the gate. Jesus tells Aaron and Eugene to get out while he finishes off the walkers, and begins killing several with a sword. He is about to kill the latter, but when he attacks him, the walker dodges and stabs him in the chest from behind, shocking everyone. "You're where you don't belong," the walker whispers to the shocked Jesus and throws him to the ground. Aaron shouts no, and runs into the house, followed by Michonne, Magna and Yumika. Daryl arrives at the cemetery with the dog and shoots the walker in the head, while several others attack the group with guns. The group finishes them off. When Aaron approaches the body of Jesus, Daryl notices something on the back of the walker's head and cuts it open, exposing the mask. Before they have time to think about the situation, the whispers around them get louder, and the group gathers in a circle, preparing for a fight.